I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? I went, what's going on?
This is blue swing shit.
Frank Mir had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out and I beat him over the head with it.
You can't stop us at Beer Express. Choo-choo, motherfuckers.
If he was a girl, you would say he has a badonkadonk.
I'm cool with all the gods. Gods recognize gods.
This is #1 bullshit.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
What's up, folks?
Forgot my microphone. What's up, folks? Welcome
start.
to the very first episode of the MMA Opinion Podcast. My name is Liam Griffin.
And I am Paul O'D.
So this episode is our 2020 year in review and the results of the MMA Opinion Awards, of which there are 8 categories. Mr. O'D, what are the 8 categories?
So we have Fight of the Year, Submission of the Year, KO of the Year, What the Fuck Moment of the Year, Comeback of the Year, Breakthrough Artist of the Year, Fighter of the Year, and a very special one for our own fans is the MMA Opinion of the Year. We might open with that one.
Absolutely, 100%, because this show is designed to service our fans over there at the MMA Opinion. Great page. If anyone is not already subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. And throughout the year, there's been a massive amount of engagement in various different topics that have gone up on the page from the staff, and the comments have been unreal, guys. Everybody is really, really knowledgeable, and the debates and the comments are funny and good to get involved in. And we have a short list of some of the best comments from throughout the year, and Paul has the winner picked out as well, so we're going to get to that. And there's some prizes. You're giving out some prizes, Paul.
Yeah, so we're going to actually do a top 3 for the MMA Opinion of the Year, and we're going to give out some of the prizes that we picked up throughout the year. So we have the Conor McGregor bobblehead. We have a Khabib Nurmagomedov pop doll, and there are some UFC face masks as well. We'll give first place, first choice, and so on.
Savage. So, before we actually do we want to do the awards first, or do you want to do your special moment of the year of 2020? What stood out for you for 2020? What we're going to do? We do the opinion award first.
Yeah, I think we should get straight into that award
first.
anyway.
Yeah. So who you had like a short list? You had a micro list and a short list. So the short list is about 20 and the micro list is about 3. So will we go with the micro list? What were the top 3 comments? Who were they?
So we're going to actually give a third place, second place, and first place. Again, like I said, first place can get first choice of prize and so on. But we'll start with third place. The comment from Trey Burris, and apologies if I get any of your names wrong as well, by the way. And it was a comment on the thread of Ferguson talking about Charles Oliveira before their fight. And Trey's comment was, as much as I love Ferg, it would take decades of mental studies to figure out what's going on in that boy's head. ... I'm not even going to try.
That's actually a good call. I think that's,
Yeah, tickled me a little bit.
You might need to do a PhD on Ferguson just to get round that head.
100%. And even probably more so now after the 2 beatings he's taken. But yeah, there's definitely some damage going on there.
Poor fucker.
So yes, Trey Burris is in third place. In second place for comment of the year or opinion of the year, we have Cameron Talley, whose comment underneath, I believe it was the Tito Ortiz getting voted into the local council seat. And Cameron's comment was, this is a prime example that there should be an IQ test requirement before allowing people to vote, which seems pretty apt considering the year given in America.
Yeah, no, that's
we shouldn't comment too much on it though, sitting over here in Ireland, but
well, we actually did have, wasn't it? Who was the lad? I called him Art Jimerson. That was the fellow with one boxing glove.
Art Davies.
Art Davies got involved in that conversation. You posted her up on was it the Blood and Bandage MMA?
The Blood and Bandage page, our old page. Yeah, so Art Davies, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do, he was
I didn't know.
One of the original creators of the UFC along with Helon Gracie, and the Gracie brothers, I suppose. But he jumped straight to the defense of Tito Ortiz in the group page for some reason or another, saying that he was one of the most apt people to vote into government from MMA, which I strongly disagree with, but I suppose we're all entitled to our opinion. That's the purpose of it.
Absolutely, 100%.
So yes,
leading to it.
Cameron, you get second place, and you'll get second choice of the prizes in front of us. And in first place, drum roll.
I forgot to put a drum roll on the sound effect panel. Bugger.
First place is Mr. Jeff Nemeth, and his comment, which was voted by the team, is with reference to John Jones, and I believe it was under a post where, and I might point out as well, there was a lot of posts about John Jones this year.
Absolutely,
that
I
took our
was
fancy.
shocked at the amount of hate for John Jones.
There's a lot of love as well, and DC, to be fair, got a lot of hate when we posted anything about DC. So I think it's share 50-50, but it definitely divides opinion. But it was under a post that he went on an attack of the AK team, and I think Josh Thompson originally posted about him popping and that he was a steroid user and all this. So that was the original post, and he commented saying all he had to do was piss clean and he'd 100% be pound for pound number one, but never could, hence why Bones is the Barry Bonds of the UFC. Good reference.
I had no idea who Barry Bonds was, but I appreciate somebody taking somebody from another sport and making a kind of an analogy, and that takes smarts.
Well,
more smarts than I've got anyway.
From my limited knowledge of other American sports, he's a former baseball player. There was a lot of controversy surrounding him as well, and he's still involved in the game in some capacity, just not playing. But yeah, there was a lot of controversy about steroid use.
So who was that commenter? That was Trey, was it?
That was Jeff Nemeth was the winner.
Jeff, sorry.
So we'll contact everyone in private mail, and they'll get a choice of the prizes they want to take.
Awesome. Excellent. Congratulations, lads. And keep those comments coming, because as this podcast goes on, we're actually going to feature more and more of the content that comes directly from the Facebook page. I think it's a good way to just kind of keep a finger on the pulse as to what's going on there, and give you guys a chance to contribute to the show as well, which we hope that you do so. So keep the comments coming. Excellent
Definitely.
stuff. So, Paul, your
moment of the year?
Moment of the year, or thought of the year, or how was the year for you?
I suppose, look, you're going to have to discuss the whole COVID situation, and predominantly how the UFC were deemed to handle it early on, and the kind of overarching theory now that they did the right thing, and a lot of different sports kind of followed in their footsteps in that sense. But it was kind of the moment of the year when, for me anyway, when there was these discussions about Fight Island, and everyone thought it was a joke at first, and were they after buying an island and all this, and there was a bit of hype around it, and and this was going on at the same time. There was a conversation: should the UFC even be putting on events? And it was just there was a lot for me personally. There was no sport going on. I was locked at home. I watched sports all day long, and it was like I wanted sports back, and then the excitement about a Fight Island, I got a bit carried away with it. But
yeah.
Look, what they did was fascinating. To come back and put on 25 events, 25 weeks in a row. So,
and we were talking a little bit earlier about that video that Dana White put up there a couple of weeks ago. An absolute shambles of a thing. It was like it could have been posted by Kim Jong-un.
Yeah,
it was that level of like propaganda, and basically just shitting all over the MMA journalists worldwide for
who were just doing their job, really.
Absolutely, 100%. At
the end of the day, the whole world was commenting on it. It wasn't just the journalists involved in MMA. And at the end of the day, they are journalists. Dana White seems to forget that sometimes, that they have a job to do. They can't just pander to him and be a propaganda machine for him.
Absolutely.
So anytime they post anything negative about him, he goes on a warpath. But that video was absolutely insane. So I genuinely felt for some of the guys that really got like their picture on it and got called out on it. Then again, look, no publicity is bad publicity. These guys know they're doing their job. They're not spineless. They know the story. They know the way Dana White is. So,
but when you look at it,
I'd say they laughed at it.
Even with like this year, I think it was the 10th year in a row that Ariel Helwani has been MMA Journalist of the Year by some body anyway. I think I don't know which body gave him that, but like he's been completely ousted by the UFC for
several years now,
quite some time.
Yeah.
So it hasn't done any disservice to his career.
Absolutely.
He just keeps doing what he does. And for those that were mentioned in that abomination of a video, don't worry about it.
Oh no, 100%. And if you look at, that's the prime example, Ariel Helwani. if this had affected his career, he wouldn't be working for ESPN right now.
Correct.
And they're doing the coverage for the UFC. So
Correct.
Dana White's just Dana White. He's always going to be that way. He's gonna get in arguments about something silly.
Well, for me, the big thing, I mean, again, COVID related. I don't think we're going to get away from COVID this year anyway. But it's been a good year for those that were in the UFC. They got plenty of times to fight. Fight Island was a big success. The shows that they ran in their own the Apex, is it? The Apex Arena in Vegas. Fantastic. Bellator managed to run a few events in Milan and Paris and in the Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
So like that's great for the shows that did get to run shows. Fantastic. The fighters got their chance to make a few quid, but there have been thousands of fighters all over the world that have gone without a paycheck for the entire year, and not just professional fighters, but amateur fighters have had an absolute just non-year.
Yeah.
And it's been very, very frustrating as a coach myself and coaching a fight team here who are all predominantly amateur athletes. Yeah. It's just been so difficult to keep everybody motivated, to keep everybody ticking along, and just say, okay, look, we're getting to the end of it now. Keep training.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing. Like it's like, okay, they're just going to get fat and not train. Yeah, fine, but like as soon as this is over, there's going to be a run on fights, and if you're not ready to jump in, you know, and you can say that as many times as you want, but trying to get fighters to believe you and trust you.
Yeah,
it's been a tough year.
And like if you take it at professional level, the guys that didn't get a fight, this has happened to them before. They've been through it, and they're at a point that this is most of their careers, so they're going to stay fit, they're going to stay healthy. It's their job to stay that way. Yeah. Amateurs who were kind of on the cusp, not earning money, they probably have full-time jobs to boot
100%.
with it. Their motivation has gone downhill massively in 2020, and it doesn't look like it's going to end in this part of the world over in Ireland where we are. Yeah, we're in lockdown again, so it's going to be a struggle for them to start 2021 as well. Yeah,
I think my guys, we're all pretty much focused on March being possibly the first set of things back. IMAF have posted a full schedule for the year. For those that are listening, IMAF is the amateur worldwide body for MMA, and they run the world's, the European, all the Pan Ams are in Mexico this year. You've got the Asian Opens in Kazakhstan. You've got the Worlds in Kazakhstan later on. You have the Europeans are in St. Petersburg in Russia. I'm going to Russia, baby.
Oof. Good luck with that.
No, it's going to be a good year.
I'll show my support from here.
Hopefully, I mean, if these events go ahead, they're going to be phenomenal events for the amateurs to be back, and there's going to be, I reckon there's going to be a massive uptick in skill levels because you know everybody's been just training and developing over the last 12 months. Nobody's been in a fight camp. They haven't been running themselves into the ground. You know, those who are focused and who have stayed focused have been getting better. Yeah. So we're going to see a big,
and when you get to the IMAFs, that's the level you're talking. You're talking professionals at an amateur level.
Correct.
100%.
Correct. So are we ready for some announcements on some categories? What you reckon?
Yeah, I think we go with Fight of the Year, and this is a hotly contested one. I'll run through the nominees first. So the nominees we narrowed it down to were Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Weili Zhang at UFC 248. We had Dan Hooker versus Paul Felder at UFC Fight Night 168. We had Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno at UFC 256. We had Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker at UFC Vegas 4. Dan Hooker making the list twice. And Raoni Barcelos versus Kadi Taha at UFC Vegas 13. So
all phenomenal fights.
Yeah, and the way we're going to do this as well, by the way, so we voted within the team. We have a team of 8 people, so the votes are in, and we know who the winners are, but we're going to give our own picks first, if that's all right. And then
absolutely, 100%. I mean, for anybody that's kind of tuning in and looking to know what fight should I go back and watch at the weekend, if there's no events on this weekend, right? So if you want to put together like your own dream card, just watch all the nominated fights on this particular category, and you're just going to have a great night, even if you know the results already. They're phenomenal fights. I absolutely loved Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang. The girls have been like banging through the fights over the last few years, and this is just a prime example of two elite level athletes. Either one, you couldn't complain either one being a champion, and both of them are champions, obviously. But I mean,
and it was the best we've seen Joanna look in a long time as well.
Yeah, she looked phenomenal. She didn't look great with a big kind of pregnant head on her.
Well,
at the end of the fight.
Not after the fight, but during the fight, yeah.
So that was definitely an honourable mention for me. But for me, Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker, that was the fight of the year for me. I just thought that like that fight went everywhere. It wasn't. I mean, a lot of the fights that are on this list are very good striking matches.
Yeah. Like
kind of kickboxing wars. You had back and forth. But this fight went up, down, in, out, everywhere. It had a bit of striking. You had the drama of each one being on top, each one kind of getting the better of the striking, each one having close submission attempts as well. Yeah. And just a great fight overall. That one for me was the winner. And
my pick was the Joanna versus Weili Zhang fight. I spoke about this. We did a podcast last year, the Blood and Bandage MMA podcast. We've since transitioned to the MMA Opinion. But we spoke about this on the podcast last year. This for me wasn't just the fight of the year. This for me was surpassed Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald as the greatest fight of all time. I just think the fact that both were clearly hurt coming into the fifth round and the war they put on in the fifth round, and it was continuous the whole way through the fight. And I know what you're saying about that the fight was limited to a kickboxing fight. Mm-hmm. But for a kickboxing fight to go 25 minutes and for both girls to be standing there and trading after 25 minutes was phenomenal.
Yeah. I would have been happy with any one of these fights being the winner.
100%.
But yeah. So what fight actually got the nod in the end?
So there was only two fights got picked as nominated. Your pick, Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker, got 2 votes. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Weili Zhang walked away with the win with 6 votes.
Fair play.
Fight of the year.
The sisters are doing it, boy. So do they get any prize now?
No,
we've no prize for them.
What are we going to give them?
I'm sure. What could we give them that they don't already have? Like,
we'll send them a T-shirt or something, but like it would just come up as.
If I take a photograph of you and you autograph, we can send them that.
100%. Wait until I have my beard back. It's been commented on already.
Really, I can't get the comments up there. I'm trying to get the comments up.
The first comment was Paul looks like an egg.
Well, that's an accurate statement.
Nice one. For those, by the way, this is going to be going up on YouTube later, and I have a thumbnail picked out for the YouTube of me looking a handsome bastard with my beard. So for anyone that's wondering, it is still me. Just they didn't put a pair of glasses and a hat on an egg or a big toe.
One of Scotland's most famous comedians, Mr. Billy Connolly, once came on stage with his beard shaved, and he had to convince people that it was him.
Yeah, like you couldn't
people
picture him
shouting
without
up from the audience saying, "Who the fuck are you?" What do you mean, it's me?
Yeah, I genuinely, if I take off the hat, I look like a big toe with a pair of glasses on. It's awful.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Right, next category. Next
category, I believe, is submission of the year. Another great one this year. I'll run through the nominees again. You had Alex Perez versus Jordan Espinoza at UFC Fight Night 166. You had Jimmy Flick versus Cody Durden, UFC Vegas 17 late on in the year. You had Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 254. You had a bit of an out there one, and some people will probably have to look this up. It was Luis Felipe Diaz's win over Antunes at Shooto 100, which was a phenomenal finish, I have to say. And you had AJ McKee versus Darian Caldwell at Bellator 253.
Awesome.
So your pick for that?
I'm torn between two, but do we have the same one actually? You don't know. Okay. Right. Well, I'm going for
I don't think you gave me your pick for that.
Okay. Right. I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for the Suluo stretch / reverse inverted triangle from Luis Felipe Diaz
at Shooto 100.
Shooto 100.
It's on YouTube. It is a phenomenal finish. Do you want to talk us through the finish?
Yeah, I mean the actual finish itself wasn't the most impressive part of it. It was probably the transition from the back take as his opponent was kind of swiveling away from him. He just kind of shot around, took the back, and maintained control from there. Looked for not an inverted triangle, but a reverse triangle. So he got the triangle choke from being on the guy's back, and then once he got that in, it was kind of like a bit of tug of war, trying to get that arm bar finish, trying to get that arm under his arm. He never got the arm, and he made a kind of a split decision to go grab the ankle, pull the leg over. We were talking about this a while ago. It wasn't really the hamstring stretch. Probably wasn't the finish. It probably just added to the triangle choke finish. There was just less and less and less room.
It compressed them, definitely.
100%.
Because the leg wasn't hyperextended when
Correct.
Antunes
Correct. Yeah, but like as a kind of like just taking a back take and a back control position to the extreme. He had like 3 different submission attempts with one position. Phenomenal.
Yeah. And my pick was AJ McKee versus Darian Caldwell. Like I said, there was a lot of unbelievable ones. Jimmy Flick in one of the last fights of the card ran it very close, but for me, just the stakes of the fight, semi-final of the Featherweight Grand Prix in Bellator, AJ pulled off a submission that nobody's really ever seen in professional. Well, not on televised MMA anyway. I don't know if it's been pulled off before.
Yeah, I've seen that used as a sweep.
They
call it the 100%. From there, like a failed guillotine, and you just underhook the firearm and kind of use it as a sweep. But he kind of really brought it down into a neck crank, and
people were dubbing it the McKeotine, and I like that name for it.
Yeah.
But of course, it is more of a neck crank than it is a choke.
Yeah,
I still like the name McKeotine though. I think it was Luke Thomas put that out there.
Well, I think if you do pull off a kind of an unusual position submission, definitely getting your name wrapped around it is a badge of honor. And we have the Kensington, and we have the what are the one we've got?
You have the Van Flew choke, which should be the Van Flew choke. Jesus Christ, man's pulled it off 4 times. But the one thing I would say about after that, I can remember seeing that and commenting on the MMA Opinion page. It's not often you see a transition or a fight-ending sequence that you guarantee up and down the country or over in America, up and all over the country.
Yeah,
there's going to be people drilling that the next day, and looking to how did he do it, how did he get that finish. To have that kind of impact in a finish in a fight of such high stakes as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the walkaway winner for me.
100.
And the voting went similar. Khabib got 2 votes, Jimmy Flick got 1, Luis Felipe Diaz got 1, and AJ McKee got 4 votes. So AJ McKee wins the submission of the year.
Nice. Good job, AJ. Good job, Bellator.
Yeah.
We've got one for Shuto. Was it Shuto? No, it wasn't Shuto. Was it was Shuto
100, yeah.
So one for Shuto, one for Bellator, and one for UFC so far. So international MMA on display throughout the year.
Definitely.
Looks great for it. So the next one was the KO of the year, wasn't it?
KO of the year. You had nominees are Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza, which was late on in the year. You had Joaquin Buckley versus Impa Kasanganay on UFC Fight Island 5.
Or also Tekken.
Tekken, yeah. You had Chaos Williams versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan at UFC Vegas 14. Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wideland at UFC 250. And just a quick nod to Cody Garbrandt on that same card at UFC 250. It was kind of a toss-up between the two of them. And the other one was Khamzat Chimaev versus Gerald Meerschaert at UFC Vegas 11. And your pick? Or do you want me to go first this time?
Yeah, go first. Go on. Go ahead.
So my pick, I went with pretty much almost everyone else, and we'll see why it was almost everyone else after. But it had to be Joaquin Buckley. Like you said, Tekken. If they were only kind of commenting on this in the... It was in the commentary, but after the fight. If this had been a movie script and someone was choreographing a fight scene, and they tried to put that in, they'd have told them that they were fucking ridiculous. This can't happen in a fight. It just doesn't happen. There are so many impressive KO wins this year, but to have something that doesn't even look like it's real, it has to win.
And there was I can't remember the name of the guy that did it, but he put some motion graphics over it.
Yeah.
Like anime style motion graphics that made it even cooler.
Yeah, and
as if it couldn't be any cooler.
You had a couple of them where he broke into bits, and then there was another one with his soul leaving his body. And I genuinely, you see the way he falls backwards stiff. I think his soul kind of did leave his body. Like it was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
So I didn't vote for that one.
The only person, might I add. So I've kind of given away the winner,
But there you go. I stand proud as an independent voter here. I voted for Mr. Kevin Holland KOing Jacare off his back.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
No, I'm not the some, before you jump down my throat because I can see you're ready to go. Some would say it's a lucky punch, but talk me through why it's not a lucky punch.
It's no way is it a lucky punch. I mean, first
off, as I said, I'm not the some now. Don't attack immediately.
I understand. But I mean, like, the thing is, right, look, you had there was another Kaimef and Mirkshart were on that. We had a number of fights throughout the year similar to that where somebody shit the bed.
Yeah.
Right? And in this fight, Mirkshart, great fighter and all that, but he freaked out when he saw Kaimef cross the ring from him, and Kaimef got a knockout basically because
he froze up.
Because Mirkshart was a rabbit in the headlights. And there was a bunch of that throughout the year. And if that was going to happen anywhere, it should have happened with Kevin Holland looking across the ring from Jacare.
Yeah.
Jacare de Souza, like
legend.
This absolute legend. Did it happen? Did it my hole. Kevin Holland from his back in closed guard, hammer fist across the jaw, and then like 2 or 3 more.
Yeah.
Then gets up and uppercuts him while he's still on his knees. He's like a Jack in the Box that's broken, and just ends
against
it.
The cage. Yeah.
You know, like not only is it like technically a great knockout, but it's more the fact that he just did not bow down to the pressure of dealing with a legend. He got it from his back. He was on bottom. I just thought if that's an MMA knockout.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, my only bug to bear what it is, and you said the word in your argument for it. You said technically it's a great knockout, but it is a technical knockout. If for me,
he was out. He was a broken Jack in the Box.
I know that, but it was a technical knockout because it was TKO punches, as opposed to a one punch starching where the guys
No, I get you.
Are, if he'd have swung his leg the way he did and off his back and it had KO'd him stiff, that one punch, I think it's KO of the year. But
okay,
I think some ninja shit.
I understand. You're wrong. But I understand.
well, Liam,
well, 7 of you are wrong.
I think you'll find the majority have voted for Joaquin Buckley, who does win our KO of the year.
Okay, fair enough. I bow down to the majority on this one. This is a democratic process after all. But what have we got after that?
So next up, we've got a bit of an odd one. We had a what the fuck moment of the year.
Absolutely.
Which was 100% my favorite category. The nominees are at UFC 246 when the doctor checked Macy Barber's knee against Roxanne Modafferi, and he was called a human MRI doctor. He decided he was going to diagnose her with a snapped ACL. You had Diego Sanchez versus Michel Pereira. The whole fight, from walk-ins to the end of the fight, the whole thing. You had Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Kutalaba 1, not 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, not 2. The very first fight with the stoppage, that was at UFC Fight Night 169. You had Monika Tushlikova versus Jade Durand, which was the super guard finished at Bellator 247. If you haven't seen that, check it out and let us know what you think. And finally, you had at Bellator 245, Raymond Daniels versus Peter Stanonik, and I've dubbed this one the spinning dick kicks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually Raymond Daniels versus his dick.
Yeah, it was absolutely
there was nothing but the dick involved in the fight, really. Being fair, absolutely horrible.
I'd like to discuss all of these. As I said, million miles my favorite category. This year, whatever went on this year, there was just some strange shit happened inside in the cage this year. And Macy Barber against Modafferi, UFC 246. Was that the opening card of the year? McGregor Cowboy.
Oof.
Or was there a fight night before it?
I have no idea. No,
I should know this, but I think there was one fight night before it, or maybe two. Either way, right at the start of the year. And we've talked about this. The fact that the doctor came in and looked at her because she had a sore knee would never happen in men's MMA.
Well, it might happen, but that would be the end of the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, once okay, if it's a cut, the doctor can come in and say, right, yeah, whatever. But I mean, to come in and check a knee, that doesn't happen. And
to say, for the doctor to literally just touch her for half a second and say, oh, she's completely torn her ACL, but she's good to go.
Yeah.
It's fucking bananas. And you have to love Joe Rogan's comment calling the doctor a human MRI.
And that was the fight where Macy Barber's father went on the rampage afterwards as well, because she had never lost
she was unbeaten up until that.
But she had never lost a wrestling match either, apparently. She'd been unbeaten in her entire life or something weird like that anyway. And he came on and basically, like, she wasn't the sore loser, he was the sore loser. He really screwed up on that regard, you know. Yeah. But
no, to be fair, she did come back this year and she looked impressive.
Absolutely. That like the young girls that are in the flyweight and bantamweight divisions are looking phenomenal. Unreal. Like that, the futures of both of those two categories, and now possibly an atomweight division as well.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be spoiled for fights coming through
100%.
these.
It's one of the stronger divisions in the UFC. I know a lot of people will point to the obvious. You have the bantamweight, you have the lightweight, featherweight even, but the strawweight in the women's category is phenomenally strong.
So before you go on to that, Frank Dean O'Sullivan is looking for some face masks. Frank, they're on their way to you, boy.
We'll see what we can do.
We'll get you one of Paul's face.
Yeah, just my chin.
Yeah,
put it on over your own chin.
Yeah,
without beard as well, by the way, for calling me an egg. I would get you a pretty one with me at the beard, but you're getting one of these.
So, what else do you want to talk about, or whichever? You had the other WTF moments, the one Kutalaba and Magomed Ankalaev,
which seemed to be a saga that went through the whole of 2020 almost. The take out the first fight. We all know how that ended, and it was absolutely absurd. The stoppage, and I got a little bit of shit about this because I said I didn't mind the stoppage, even if he was play acting.
Yeah,
he deserved it the way he was carrying on.
He play acted too well.
Yeah, exactly.
Or did he?
Yeah,
that is the $1 million question, of course.
But then you had them scheduled to fight. I think it was Ankalaev got injured. Scheduled to fight again. Kutalaba got COVID. Scheduled to fight 2 weeks later. Kutalaba still had COVID. And we finally got to see the rematch. And Ankalaev sparked him. So it was never in debate anyway.
Yep.
But a saga and a rematch that went on all year long. Dragged out all year.
Yeah. Well, they got a few followers out of it. Fair play.
They definitely did. Yeah.
The super guard.
And a nod to David Doran.
Oh, yeah.
Who has a fucking horn for young Kutalaba.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a man crush.
Yeah.
Absolute man crush. He would be absolutely pissed that the second fight didn't go the way he wanted.
I never got to talk to him after that. We're gonna have to
should get him on live.
100%. We'll talk about young Kutalaba getting starched in the second one.
Yeah. The super guard. This was the bear hug from the bottom. Again, another submission from bottom.
Yeah. But one of the stranger ones.
Yeah, it's a strange one, yeah. Although, to be fair, if your ribs are being crushed, you know, there's nothing more disconcerting about like the feeling that your ribs are about to all snap together.
Yeah. I can imagine how painful it is, but does someone who taps to that at that level belong at that level? That's my question.
You see, I don't think it's a matter of levels. I think that once you're caught, you know, and like we don't know how strong her squeeze was. Yeah. You know, like I once I once rolled with like an insanely strong power lifter.
Yeah.
Now he was a complete white belt in jiu-jitsu, and I got to a mounted position, and he literally bear hugged me from mount bottom. I had to tap because I literally thought my entire rib cage was going to disintegrate.
Jesus Christ.
Like he was, it wasn't a matter of technique. It was just pure raw strength.
Yeah.
I mean, like that scene with like the mountain in Game of Thrones where he just basically crushes your man's head like with
his hands. Yeah.
It felt like one of them moments.
I'm a bit disappointed in myself that I knew that as well. But Game of Thrones.
But it felt like one of those moments, and I'm sure that if you are, I mean, you know what? I don't know. Am I making excuses? It didn't look that strong.
It really didn't though. That's the thing. Like, it looked like she just caught her ankles
myself
and pulled down a little bit, and that girl went, nope.
Yeah.
Having none of this, carry on anyway. After taking her down.
Yeah, I know.
That's the strangest part about it.
Yeah.
Your ground game can't be that bad if you're going taking someone down. I don't know. You could be right. It could have been very uncomfortable. She could have broken a rib. You wouldn't know.
No idea.
We'll move on to
the dick kicks.
The spinning dick kicks. Woof. Woof. We actually just watched this one before we came
I know.
on
It was disturbing. I mean, you could put thriller on the description of or chiller or psychological drama, because like everything, like as you said, the there was no crowd in attendance, and you could hear your man basically
screaming. Not even groaning or moaning. He was screaming after the second one. So for those who haven't watched the fights, Raymond Daniel, he's known for flashy kicks and spinning 360 spins and 720 spins even. But he did a spinning back kick which landed directly on the cup. Your man took the full 5 minutes to recover. He was sprawled out, hands and knees, nearly throwing up. Finally decided after the 5 minutes, the ref gave him the warning, 5 minutes is up, are you going to continue? He said yes. First exchange, he landed the exact same kick straight to the cup. And the poor fellow went down, and it was empty arena. You could hear him screaming for several minutes, and he had to be carried out in a stretcher 5 or 6 minutes later.
Yep.
So,
and actually the picture on the stretcher was even more disturbing in the fact that he actually maintained, he was on his back in the fetal position.
Yeah.
Now most people when they're in the fetal position fall to
onto
their side.
Yeah.
This guy was on his back. He looked like he was like a turkey getting ready to be stuffed.
He'd already been stuffed.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Horrible.
And then you had, of course, Diego Sanchez versus Michel Pereira. Anybody who has not watched this fight, watch it. But don't just start it when they go to fight. Watch the walk-ins. Watch the peacocking that Diego Sanchez does before the fight starts.
As DC said, he was blowing bubbles.
He was literally chest out and giving it lots of that. So yeah, it's as weird as that might have looked. It's 10 times weirder than that again. Yeah, so
that looked quite weird with a beard right now.
And then the whole fight, the way it ended, for me, that is the what the fuck moment of the year.
And I'd have to agree.
Yeah, and predominantly that was the vote as well. It got 6 votes. Sorry, so that is the winner of what the fuck moment of the year.
So a face mask of Paul's bare chin on its way to Diego Sanchez and Michel Pereira also. I'm sure they will have no better face masks in their collection.
Oh, 100%.
What was the next category? It was the comeback of the year. And I still haven't made my mind up about this one. Go on anyway. Okay. Who have we got in this category?
So the nominees were Brian Moore versus Simone Deanna at Bellator 247. You had Jordan Griffin versus TJ Brown at UFC Fight Night 169. You had Nate Maness versus Luke Sanders at UFC Vegas 15. And then you also had Sean Strickland, a career comeback, and Mackenzie Dern, career comeback for the year.
Yeah, this is a tough one. So, you've picked already, right?
Yeah,
you're pretty solid. Do you want to go and do your one?
Yeah, my pick is Brian Moore versus Simone Dana. First round of that fight, Brian Moore picked him apart, won the fight, but in the second round, he got, I would say, dropped twice. He got dropped twice. Dropped to his hands in the first one, and then dropped bad second time. Recovered guard quite quickly, but got up and got the finish shortly after that. Back and forth round, it looked really bad from the opening 2 minutes of that round. So to come back and get the victory in that round was very impressive.
and it was a clean uppercut that spelled the beginning of the end for his opponent as well.
He landed a couple of uppercuts, and then there was a slip right hand, and then there was a right straight that finished him.
Yeah, Brian's boxing is on point. When he lands on target, it's just like lights out for anybody who's standing in the way. So, yeah, great comeback. As you say, he was dealing with a bit of adversity. Literally, like got back to guard on autopilot. I would say it looked like he was definitely in trouble after that the second knockdown, if it is that you're calling the first one and a knockdown as well.
I mean, it almost sat him down. He recovered, but it almost sat him down. Yeah.
Yeah, so the others, like I'm in agreement with all the rest being on the short list. For me, it came down to there was 3 fights that were in the running. So you had Brian, so you had the Jordan Griffin, TJ Brown, and Nate Maness and Luke Sanders. And I think of those 3, Brian, hands down, no bother.
Yeah.
Not only was it a comeback, but it was a clean technical knockout. Brilliant, fantastic. Now you have a kind of a slightly separate category for the career.
Yeah.
One. So you have Sean Strickland coming back after, you said it was a 2-year layoff.
2-year layoff and a motorbike accident.
Yeah, and he had a pretty serious knee injury from that. Bits of his kneecap were broken, I think, as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
Some of it had to be removed, as far as I know.
Yeah, so pretty serious surgeries, and came back, looked great. Now he fought Jack Marshman in his first one, had a bit of a kind of a talking back and forth, kind of an entertaining fight, and then went in against
Brendan Allen,
who was on a serious streak. So great comeback. However,
yep,
Mackenzie Dern coming back from a baby, I think you have to. I mean, and I have no idea what it is like to push a human out, and come back from all of that trauma.
Nor will you ever.
Nor will I ever. Unless technology takes a turn for the worse.
Still don't go there, but yeah.
But I can't imagine that could have been easy. I mean, obviously she's still an active mother as well, having to look after a child. Getting back and winning 3 fights this year.
3 fights this year. Starting with a phenomenal submission knee bar against Hannah Cyphers earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. But I think what makes that more impressive is the fact that just before she had her hiatus and had the baby, she had her very first loss in MMA.
Yeah.
So where was her head at? Like, it could have been very easy for her to check out of the sport completely and fade away into the sunset because she was the next big thing, had a loss, then disappeared for a period of time. To come back and look so good was very, very impressive.
Yeah. So for me, it's a toss-up between Brian Moore and Mackenzie Dern, and she looks better naked behind curtains, so I'm going to give it to Mackenzie Dern.
You need to tell me more about this picture as well. When this category came up, he was like, well, all I know about Mackenzie Dern is he told me about some suspect picture that he's after finding and he won't tell me where it is. But she apparently looks very good behind curtains. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, but like, I mean, if it's on a fight by fight basis, I mean, obviously Brian's was the winner for me. But I think this one is like almost like 2 separate categories. So yeah, that's how I'm getting away with this one.
Yeah, you're cheating and not giving a direct answer.
Yeah. I'm just scared that the next time I see Brian, he'd give me one of those uppercuts.
So next up.
So who actually won that division?
Oh yeah, Brian. Brian won. I wouldn't mind. I was letting you go through all this pain of deciding. Yeah. But either way, if you voted for it didn't matter. It
so my vote didn't even count.
But Brian, basically, you did win, but Liam's on the fence.
Well, if Brian produces,
you can talk to Liam when you see him.
If Brian pushes out a baby in the next 12 months, I'll reconsider my vote.
There you go, Brian. The gauntlet's been set.
All right. So breakthrough fighter of the year, I think, is the next category. Am I right?
It is indeed. Yeah.
Okay. So who have we got in that category?
So in this one, we had. I'm going to go from the bottom up. We had Yan Xuanan, who went 2-0 this year, but very impressive victories. Mm-hmm. You had Giga Shikadze, who went 4-0 this year including with the Giga kick. You had JJ Wilson of Bellator fame, went 3-0 this year with 3 very tidy finishes. And then you had the hotly talked about too. You had Mr. Hamzat Chimaev, who went 3-0 this year in record time. And you had Kevin Holland, who went 5-0 this year. And did so wanting more fights, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't like to be the fella telling you he hasn't got a fight.
I know. He wanted to step in on short notice against Leon Edwards at 170 pounds.
That would have been a great fight.
Could he make 170? He looks huge at middleweight.
170 or 175?
He wanted a 170.
Okay.
I just think it was a bad move for him anyway. Stay at 185, you're killing it.
Yeah.
You go down, you lose momentum if you lose to a 70 or cutting that much weight. Like.
Yeah.
But the fact that he wanted to take it against number 3 in the world at 170 shows where his head is at.
Been an unlucky year for Leon Roberts as well, by the way. Which, we didn't have that category. Or Leon Edwards.
I was there like
Leon Roberts. Leon Edwards, yeah. But yeah, so do you want me to go on?
You go.
Will I pick on this one? So yeah, I mean, again, all of these guys have had a phenomenal year. We talked about possibly having an all Chinese female title fight coming up in the new year. Again, like that just shows the strength of the female divisions coming through this year. They've had a phenomenal year. Obviously, Hamzat has probably kind of had the kind of most famous run of the year in that, like he's been kind of basically taken under the wing of Dana White. He's sitting next to Dana White at the side of the cage for a lot of the year.
He's definitely had the PR push, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, his story is great in the fact that he turned up without even having a contract to help corner somebody, and then gets a fight on Fight Island, and then fights again on the same
2 weeks later,
in the same 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
However, I don't think he has been as tested or has come through the gauntlet as much as Mr. Kevin Holland. I think 5 wins in the year and 3 performance bonuses, plus that knockout of Jacare.
Yeah,
just seals it for me. I think like I didn't know who Kevin Holland was at the start of this year.
Yeah.
I certainly do now.
I the only reason I knew who Kevin Holland was, I saw him on the Dana White's Contender Series last year.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, from that performance, as good as he looked, you could not have seen the rise that has happened in 2020. You even go back to some of the earlier victories this year against Joaquin Buckley. It seemed a nothing fight at the time, but wow, was that victory proven to be a massive victory?
Yep.
When Buckley was nearly in the discussion for breakthrough of the year, and he beat him. For me as well, it would be Holland. Just my only argument for Hamzat being breakthrough of the year was, I would nearly argue Holland being fighter of the year. Very close run thing, but again, if you're talking about just breaking through this year, it's got to be Holland. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. And what was the overall result?
Overall vote was 5-3 in favour of Holland,
and the
Hamzat was
3. Okay, 3 for Hamzat.
So it was quite close.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so that's breakthrough. Who else we got? We've got the
fighter of the year.
Fighter of the year,
the big one.
Absolutely. So who's in the category?
So the nominees are Davison Figueiredo, and I'm just going to give the records as well. He went 3-0-1 this year. You had Kevin Holland, as we've spoken about, went 5-0. You had Valentina Shevchenko, who went 2-0, 2 title defences. You had Jan Blachowicz, who went 2-0, a fight and then winning the title. You had Israel Adesanya, who went 2-0, and Khabib. There was 6 nominations. And Khabib, who went 1-0, but retired, so he did get a sympathy vote, I think. He wasn't my pick anyway.
Cue the comments. I think you're going to get some hate off that.
But you can't go 1-0 in a year. And there was another one. Someone nominated fucking what's his name for breakthrough, Yuri Prokrachniak. Or I've said his name completely wrong there. But you can't be fighter of the year. You can't be breakthrough fighter of the year with one fight.
Yeah,
just doesn't happen. No matter what the hype is. And again, I know 2020 was different. Very few champions fought twice. So maybe there's some kind of asterisk there. But there was still guys who fought multiple times. There was still champions who fought a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go 1-0 for a year and be fighter of the year. Just doesn't happen. Retire or not retire. Move to pound for pound of one or not.
Yeah.
No way. Not for me.
Yep. No, I would agree. I wouldn't have put him in there. I think, are we going? Are you going or am I going? What are we going?
I'll go first because
go
mine
first.
is the controversial one.
Okay, fair enough.
My pick for fighter of the year is Kevin Holland.
Okay, fair enough.
I just think going 5-0 in a year, and not just that, but every other week and every other time you fight, you're looking for another opponent. Mm-hmm. He could have fought 6-7 times this year if he was allowed. Mm-hmm. I think he was held back and he won 5 fights.
Yeah.
And it's if you look at the record, it looks more impressive now, as we said, than it did earlier in the year. But to crown it off with a victory in the last night of the year, a victory of that ilk against Jacare, who's a legend of the sport, he's put himself right up in the title picture. Mm-hmm. So to move from a nobody, a contender series alum, which was essentially his title at the start of 2020, to one of the talking points of 2020, I think he's fighter of the year for me, 5-0.
Yeah, I can't complain with any of your points. However, I don't think there's a fighter that has been around in recent years who has been as feared in his division as Davison Figueiredo. I think for such a tiny man, for the knockout power he has and just the venom he has, and he's nasty.
Yeah,
he's nasty. I mean, that this dude just wants to break people and he wants to kill people in the ring, or in the cage. And his title defenses, he's fighting like I understand Kevin Holland's had 5 fights, but only one of those has been against, like we say, like top tier.
Yeah, that's fair.
Every fight that Figueiredo has is the next best guy in the division. Yeah, he's fighting the top 3, top 4 all the time. Even
though he didn't qualify for the first for the title in his first fight, it was still the belt was on the line. Mm-hmm. So he has had 4 title fights this year, and you can't get any more significant of a fight than a title fight. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Big Shevchenko fan though. I think that she's like unreal, like just technically to watch, and I think she's got years ahead of her to prove that. Like I think she will be a 2-way champion at one point in time. Yeah,
she's a tough road to get there, but I think if there's anyone that will beat Nunes, it would be Shevchenko. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they've all had a phenomenal year, but the winner with 5 of the votes, I believe, or was it 4 of the votes? 5 of the votes was Davison Figueiredo.
Hey, that's the first one I got,
right.
I think, isn't it?
We only agreed on 1, I think, by the way.
You mean you were wrong all those times?
But we have had a reply from a Mr. Brian Moore.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Brian Moore has said, I'm going to put my foot up your ass next time I see you, Liam. Then you'll know what childbirth feels like.
Oh, no.
So good luck with that one.
I think I'll avoid all Bellator shows.
You're lucky we're in lockdown.
That's fair enough.
Brian, right. You still won, even if he's on the fence. You still won. You got enough votes.
So is that the last of the categories? Is it?
That is the last of
the categories. Okay. So that's it.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, just to sum up 2020, for me anyway. It was a year riddled with fights falling through because of COVID. You had a load of cards that on paper didn't look like they were going to be significant cards, or that they would be great cards for that matter. And it was the year for unknowns becoming... There seems to be a changing of the guard in 2020, at least in the UFC.
Yep.
There's a lot of guys after moving into the rankings that were previously... unknowns coming into 2020.
Yeah, it was a year of opportunities.
Definitely.
Anybody who was ready got a shot.
And the 2 that were in hotly contested breakthrough are the prime examples of that.
Absolutely.
And I suppose a nod to Giga Shikadze as well, who's still not ranked at featherweight, even though 4 impressive victories this year. Mm-hmm. But I think 2021 the fact that the scheduling will kind of go back to normal. They're not trying to fit in 25 cards in 25 weeks. We will actually see a little bit more activity again because people aren't trying to fight next week or 2 weeks later. The cards are set and they'll be 2 weeks apart or a week apart, 3 weeks apart. We could see some very active fighters this year. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be an interesting year to see all the new personalities coming through as well, because they have cut so many old guard fighters now that are going to move on, and they're going to probably take their place in PFL, Bellator, wherever else that they'll end up. But it will give the shot for a whole new cast of members to come through, and that's going to be interesting. And I'm looking forward. I think that for, we say, the pros that are in these other shows like Bellator and PFL, to prove their worth against these former UFC fighters, and then let's see where we shake up this time next year.
Definitely.
I think we're going to have a very, very interesting year of competition. We're going to have a lot of dream matchups that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to have this time last year.
And as you said, with a lot of the old guard leaving the UFC, some of them, they're considered old guard just based on their records and based on who they've fought. Some of these guys are still in their prime or very close to it. I think Bellator, PFL, Ryzen, everyone's going to be stronger next year.
Yep.
It's going to be a phenomenal year for MMA. There's going to be some super cards, a lot of cards, I would imagine, and looking forward to it. But next week, I suppose, we'll get into 2021, what we see for the year. And
we have to talk about this Ryzen show as well next week when we actually have a proper show. I know one of the members of the MMA Opinion page has asked us to have a review of that Ryzen show. But did you see the X-ray of the poor lad that got a right hook and his whole jaw hanging off?
I saw the jaw, yeah. But that was the guy who lost to Kyoji, wasn't it? Kyoji Haraguchi.
I actually only saw the photograph and the X-ray. I didn't actually go check who it was afterwards, but we have to talk about it anyway. We'll get to watch that.
Kyoji fought Haraguchi.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, got his belt back. You had Tenshin fought. Phenomenal card, yeah. We will get into it next week.
We'll do a proper review. We need to do a whole show on our whole review show anyway next week. So let's leave it for that one. But delighted to get the first podcast, the MMA Opinion Podcast, in the books. For those who have commented and watched live, thank you very much. And if you're watching back a little bit later, make sure you get your comments in, guys, because we do genuinely want to bring everybody on the show. We're going to be able to do live phone calls and get video of people on the show as well. So if you do want to take part, if you have some opinions, if you have some questions or feedback, or if there's something that we've said inappropriate, which will be a weekly occurrence, come on and give us a bit of a trashing for it. We'd love to get your input.
Definitely.
I think we'll leave it at that, will we?
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us, folks.
I have to go away and get some KY jelly so that my arse won't hurt so much when Brian sticks his foot up there. Right, let's get out of here.
Where that was going.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk or what? What's going on?
This is Bruce Willis. Frank Mir had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out and I beat him over the head with it.
Then step this American Express. Choo-choo, motherfuckers.
If he was a girl, you would say he has a badonkadonk.
I'm cool with all the gods. Gods recognize gods.